every domain name has to be renewed or it risks lapsing and possibly falling into the hands of a cyber squatter. Now, I've helped out plenty of clients in that situation, but it's obviously a lot easier and a lot less expensive to simply pay the renewal fee and avoid the problem altogether. But paying something that looks like an invoice to renew a domain name when it's actually not won't do anything to maintain a registration and is probably unnecessary. Now, this is not a new issue. In 2010, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission warned about con artists who allegedly posed as domain name registrars and convinced thousands of U.S. consumers, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations to pay bogus bills by leading them to believe they would lose their website addresses unless they paid. And in 2014, ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, issued an alert about what it called a domain name registration renewal scam, in which emails are sent requesting payment for domain name renewals, but are actually nothing more than an attempt to fraudulently obtain financial information. Now, I'm sure these scams still exist, though I haven't seen any lately, but what got me thinking about this issue again now is this document that I received in the postal mail for my GigaLaw.com domain name from a company called Domain Networks. At first glance, it looks like an invoice for my domain name with an annual fee of $289 and correctly listing the registrar for the domain name as GoDaddy. But it's not an invoice. It's not from GoDaddy, and paying the $289 fee is certainly not something I need to do to maintain my domain name registration. Instead of renewing my domain name, paying this $289 fee would get me an annual website domain listing with Domain Networks, presumably to enhance my website exposure to new customers through a directory. Now, I have no idea whether a listing on the Domain Networks directory is worthwhile, though nothing I read in this solicitation or on the Domain Networks website convinced me that I wanted to sign up for this service. When I clicked on the link for businesses in Atlanta, for example, where I'm located, I found listings for everything from churches to doctor's offices to restaurants to roofing companies and, yes, even lawyers. The listings have 5-star ratings, but I don't know who contributes to the ratings or how they work, and I don't know what benefits, if any, anyone with a listing is receiving. So maybe this service is worthwhile, but I'm unconvinced. My greater concern is that companies may be confused when subscribing to services like this one, and Domain Networks is not the only one. Other companies such as Domain Listings and Internet Domain Name Services appear to offer similar services, and a number of other websites have come and gone through the years. While the notice I received includes a disclaimer that it is not a bill and that it is for marketing services, I think it would be pretty easy for some people to confuse this as an invoice that needs to be paid to maintain a domain name registration. Indeed, a few complaints have been filed against Domain Networks at the Better Business Bureau, including by those who felt the solicitation letters they received were misleading. In any event, I know that to renew my domain name, I don't need to pay $289 to Domain Networks. As a matter of fact, I only need to pay $9.45 to GoDaddy, where I registered the domain name in the first place and where I've been maintaining it since 1999. Now, it may not be possible to avoid getting solicitations like this, though there are some things that domain name registrants, including trademark owners and businesses of all sizes, can do to minimize the risk of accidentally paying for something you might not want or need. For example, this is one of those situations where using a domain name privacy or protection service could come in handy, because if your contact information is not published in the public WHOIS database, then it might be more difficult for someone to get your address in the first place, and you might not even receive a solicitation. Still, these services are not foolproof, as my experience shows, since my domain name's contact information is masked by the Domains by Proxy service, yet I still receive this notice. But the best advice for any domain name registrant is simply to be alert and aware. Just like we've all become accustomed to dealing with telemarketing phone calls and spam emails and texts, We also need to be cognizant of solicitations related to domain names. Look at it closely, see who it's coming from, check whether your domain name even needs to be renewed, and if the solicitation is for something you don't want or need, ignoring it may safely end up saving you a lot of money. If you want to learn more about domain name legal issues, please check out my masterclass on domain name disputes, as well as other resources on my GigaLaw website. And be sure to subscribe to the GigaLaw YouTube channel to be notified of future videos discussing other internet legal issues. Thanks for watching, and see you next time online.